Welcome to What Do You Know Wednesday, where we put each other on the spot so you don't have to.
One host who knows things and one host who knows probably nothing.
Hannah, you know so much about so many things. I'm pretty sure you're going to know something about this. So, what do you know about the Gong WikiLeaks?
Nothing.
What?
Nothing.
No.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
Hey, I love it.
All right. Well, I'll go right to the beginning.
Good.
then.
I like to learn something new every day.
Okay. So in January 2011, there was a room full of the most senior leaders in the Mormon Church, and they sat down for a briefing. The man giving the briefing wasn't a stranger to this kind of a material. He'd worked at the State Department, he'd been special assignment to a U.S. ambassador in Beijing, and at the time, he was a general authority of the 70. His name was Gerrit Gong. And the question he put in front of the Quorum of the 12 was this: could WikiLeaks or a group like WikiLeaks embarrass or damage the church?
And what was the answer?
Well,
I think I know. What did they say? I want to know what they thought.
We will get that.
I know what
so the
I think.
question, if you think back of what was going on, the question didn't come out of nowhere, right? So 2010 and 2011 were the peak of what people called cable gates, where WikiLeaks had just published 250,000 classified U.S. diplomatic cables. They were leaked by an Army intelligence analyst named Bradley Manning, who's now known as Chelsea Manning. So Manning had been
God,
arrested.
it feels like forever ago.
Yeah. So this is going on then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Manning was arrested, eventually convicted under the Espionage Act. And if you ran anything at that time, a government agency, a corporation, a university, 2011 was the year where you were asking, oh, what if this happens to us? So Gong's question didn't come out of nowhere. So when Gong stood up in front of the 12, these men with their divine powers of revelation and insight, he wanted to know, what are we going to do? Could this possibly happen? And he was doing what any competent risk officer at any major institution was doing that year.
Okay, tell me again, who was he? Like in relation?
So he had been a diplomat, and at the time, he's a part of the General Authority 70.
Okay, and this meeting takes place where?
At church offices.
Okay.
All of the
First presidency and him.
All of the most senior folks.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that.
Okay, I'm just curious. And his expertise, like, did he have a background in this stuff? Like, why him of all the 70?
Why him? He's the most savvy, having been special assistant to the U.S. ambassador in Beijing. He's worked at the Department of State. And when you're in those circles, you're thinking about all the time, like psyops, right? Or am I going to accidentally leak something that I don't want leaked? Is somebody going to be mining me for information without my awareness? So he's primed for this kind of thinking. It's my...
Okay, that makes sense, and also helps me understand why he was there. Yeah.
So that's why Gong in particular. And he was savvy in his thinking about it. So he raised to the group 3 potential scenarios. We could have a technical attack. We could have a personnel attack, and that's like somebody on the inside going rogue. Or it could be something that they warn every government employee about. It could be something mundane like a lost laptop or a misplaced data drive. So it's really on the surface, like boring, procedural, institutional risk management. So Gong's whole premise at the time was cybersecurity. He was thinking someone could leak our documents in the way Manning leaked the State Department's.
Mm-hmm.
But almost immediately, the conversation in that room stopped being about security. It became about Chelsea Manning's sexuality.
Really?
Really. And get this, you'll know exactly why when I say this next name. One of the apostles in the room, Dallin Oaks, who at the time was a member of the Quorum of the 12, said this, and I'm going to give you his exact words. Quote, I'm suspicious that the new media cover up anything involving homosexuals when it would work to the disadvantage of the homosexual agenda and so on. And I just wondered if there was some
Oh
of
my
that in
God.
this.
Yes, historically, the media has promoted and protected any non-mainstream. Yeah, we have numerous examples of that.
And this is where his head goes, right? That's what he said in a meeting that was supposed to be about whether the church's internal documents were secure.
I mean,
Right. That's true to form. So it would be easy, I think, for me to turn this into a What Do You Know Wednesday about a bad quote and move on. But this episode is about where the room's attention actually went. What matters here to me isn't just what was said, it's what it reveals about what the room's actual attention
yeah,
was focused on.
exactly, for sure. It's like whatever was brought as the focus was quickly forgotten
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Gong put a real security question on the table, and the room's energy went somewhere else entirely. And
Well, and not it. It went. So it was layered, right? It went to media coverage and spin, right,
and
and
spin
cover up and
and the homosexual agenda.
yeah, as if like I mean, next he's going to be talking about the Jews taking over the media and the banks and what?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure he was right there.
Well, what's
Wow.
interesting, more interesting, is this meeting, this exact conversation. So you have Gong's question, Oakes's comment, and then all of the associated responses. That was all being recorded.
Okay, by who?
Well, by
Gong?
them, as a matter of course. So then in
Okay.
October 2016, it was about 5 years later, roughly 5 years later, an anonymous YouTube channel called Mormon Leaks
Now this I do know.
posts
Okay.
more than a dozen videos of closed door briefings given to senior church leadership between roughly 2007 and 2012. And one of those videos, and I'm so tickled by this, the one that, according to the person who released the links, got the most views of the entire batch, which was over 30,000, was this one, the January 2011 WikiLeaks briefing. So Gong's own warning about the church being vulnerable to exactly this kind of leak is the leak.
Okay, so they, like the White House, just have every meeting recorded as a matter of course. It
Well, they
seems like.
did. I haven't confirmed that they still do, but they
Okay.
were. Yes.
Did we? Okay, I don't think Mormon Leaks is around anymore, right? It doesn't seem to exist as
I
an
looked to
entity.
see. Yeah, it seems like it's been wiped.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I could get on the Wayback Machine and see what was there, but last I had checked, it didn't seem operational anymore. And I'm wondering, do we know anything about the leaker? Do we
We
know
don't.
anything
Not
about
that I
how?
could find. I dug and dug and dug. So, I mean, I'm sure our commenters or listeners will probably find something and send it over, which will be much appreciated. But as I was looking through and
Wow,
trying to track
someone
down
knows.
like a name, I couldn't find one.
Okay.
So, and also what I couldn't find is there's no public evidence of anything structurally changing inside the church after this leak. I couldn't find a policy shift that I could confirm.
Yeah, they
I
tried to have a
couldn't
meeting
find
about it and just changed the focus to wedding
right. We
cakes.
just exactly
Started talking about prom. Who gets to take who
right.
to prom? Right? It was like, keep your focus on something important like cybersecurity, maybe.
No, can't do it.
It's
No,
like, no,
but
they're just being keyboard warriors. They're getting caught up in the cultural wars.
it was astonishing because I really thought there'd be something like there'd be like a church announces the security overhaul. And as far as I found, there's no public record of the church ever addressing the leak or what they may do to prevent anything like it in the future.
I bet those meetings with 15 doddering, senile.
Are the most
Oh, I
boring,
bet they go
painful
nowhere fast. Like, right?
without somebody to like help rein in the dementia. I
Well,
know.
And because they're so hierarchical, right?
Mm,
And they're just, the next one in line is just sitting there just going, oh, I'm just going to change
nodding.
all this. I'm
Yeah.
going to change all this as soon as you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mormon. We'll say Mormon. I'm a Mormon for sure. I'm a Mormon. I love that campaign. I love that for us. And then they're just like, oh, I'm just going to do a complete my agenda.
I'm sure this doesn't come as a surprise to you that the sticking point for me is this. These are men who claim the power of revelation, right? That's the literal stated basis for their authority. But in this specific room on this specific day, that claimed gift ran into this ordinary conference room and ran straight into a blind spot, right?
Mm,
That's this institutional failure. They couldn't see the thing coming that they were in that exact moment being warned about. So,
yeah.
how is it that these men who claim the power of revelation didn't see it coming?
Right. It's like, and the Lord sent you a man,
A
last name
messenger.
Gong, the Lord sent you a messenger exactly to warn you, but your heart was hardened and you're, wax or something. There's something about wax in there. Like, yeah, your heart, you couldn't
Wax in their
hear.
ears. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like in the scriptures, there's something about
I can't remember, but it
waxing,
does feel
waning,
like there's
hardening,
something
and
there.
softening
Yeah.
heart. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like, yeah, how much more could Heavenly Father do to protect you from
Heavenly
a
Father
future
needed to be
leak?
more creative in his approach, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got people making top level decisions who maybe shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be. No, who can easily get distracted about the homosexual agenda rather than a
Exactly.
cybersecurity threat right at their front door.
Exactly. Who could easily get distracted by whatever their pet project is.
Mhm. Well, Hannah, that is what I have for this week's What Do You Know Wednesday. I was just tickled by that whole thing.
I love it. Thank you for teaching me. I knew things had been leaked. I didn't know how the recordings came to exist in the first place.
Yeah, it's interesting. It
And I
made me
definitely
think
didn't
of
know that they had been warned by a tech savvy general authority who they just ignored. I'll be back to give you a schooling next
next week.
Wednesday in
Yeah.
Mormons on the Titanic. Oh shit, I just gave you a clue. Well, more than a
Well,
clue.
I promise I won't do any research. For all of our listeners, we're going to be back on Saturday with our Mormon true crime episode. But before we go, I want to remind folks that you can really help support the show by just hitting subscribe and leaving a 5-star rating, sharing with friends, hype the video if you can, if we can figure out why that's not working on YouTube. Follow us also on social media in the meantime. And Hannah, before we head out, I
Yes,
just want to
Jess.
say, I am so sorry for what I said when I was Mormon.
I second that. I am sorry for what I said when I was Mormon too. Eternal family.